Hi, thank you so much for joining us for the first day of our first ever virtual engineering exploration week, where we're talking all about chemical and biological engineering. So we're just gonna wait a few minutes here for folks to get logged in, and then we'll get kicked off with some introductions. And today is really all about you. So sharing about, of course, the student experience, because we're joined by some current students here, but we wanna know what you wanna know. So ask us questions, get involved. There's a number of ways for you to submit questions, so feel free to utilize the chat feature here in Zoom, and we'll keep a close eye on that. Also, you can feel free to pop on, put your microphone off mute, and just ask us whatever questions you want to know. But we'll get started here probably just in another minute or so. Yeah, we'll hold for another minute.
Yeah, that works.
Awesome. We see some familiar names from earlier in the day, so welcome back. I hope you all got a nice lunch break, able to relax a little bit before signing on again. Great. All right. So, should we go ahead and get started with some introductions? Okay. I'm very impatient. I was like, wait a minute, and it's not even been a minute. I know. But my name is Jackie Goldring. Should we go? Okay. My name is Jackie Goldring, and I serve as the manager for undergraduate recruitment programs here in the Walter Scott Junior College of Engineering. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm basically your point person. So as you continue your college search process, let me know how I can help you. So whether that means meeting for a one-on-one Zoom meeting, emailing, talking on the phone, texting, whatever that looks like, I'm here to help you navigate this process. So know that you have people on the inside, lots of friendly faces as you see here today. And then we'll get kicked off here. I'm going to pass it over to Claire here to do an introduction, and then we'll meet our student ambassadors.
Hi everyone, I'm Claire Lavelle. I'm the advisor for chemical and biological engineering. My pronouns are also she, her, hers. I've been working in chemical and biological engineering at CSU for 19 years. I've been around a little while. So I know lots and lots about the curriculum and transfer credits and AP credits and the ins and outs of how things work. So I'm here to answer your questions today and get to know you.
Cool. Hi everyone, my name is Camille. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am a fifth year studying chemical and biological and biomedical engineering. And it's nice to see familiar names again. Welcome back.
Hi everyone, my name's Katie. I'm also a fifth year studying chemical and biological engineering and biomedical engineering. And my pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm very excited for this panel. Please feel welcome to ask anything that you have, anything that you're curious about, and we'll be happy to answer.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. I'm a fourth year studying biomedical and mechanical engineering, so a little bit different. I'm just here to support the panel if in terms of technical issues or anything like that. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and yeah, I think that's about it.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being here. And thank you for those of you tuning into the call. We appreciate you being here with us today. So Claire, should we get kicked off and talk a little bit about chemical and biological engineering and what that first year looks like and a little overview of the whole program?
Sure. So if you were on the call this morning, Dr. Riesfeld kind of gave you a really broad overview of what chemical and biological engineering is. I'm going to get a little bit more into detail about what the academics are and what you can expect to take. And then we can talk some more about what the major actually entails if you want to get even deeper into it. So most students in the first year take the Chemical and Biological Engineering Introduction class. So this is a CBE 101. This is a high-level overview of all of chemical engineering and what you're going to see as your career through the program progresses. So it's going to give you an introduction to some of the higher level topics. It's going to give you an introduction to the terms used in engineering. I like to liken engineering to learning a new language. It's like nothing you've ever heard before. So we need to help you learn the vocabulary of engineering. And that's what CBE 101 is designed to do. Then CBE 160 is the other freshman chemical engineering class. And in that class, we're going to teach you how to program in MATLAB. This is a 1 credit class. It's 2 hours a week. The person who teaches it is fantastic. And we do not expect anybody in that class to have any prior programming experience. That is not the way we teach it. We teach it from the very beginning. Open the program. Right? So that's what you're going to learn there. The other core courses that you'd be expected to take in your first year are Calculus 1 and 2, a basic biology class that's essentially very similar to honors biology or AP biology, a physics class, and that's calculus-based physics, and chemistry, so general chemistry 1 and general chemistry 2 with their labs. And that's essentially the first 2 semesters of CBE. Does anybody have any questions?
I was thinking maybe both Camille and Katie, do you want to talk about why you were attracted to this program, and particularly CSU? So why did you choose to come to study chemical and biological engineering with biomedical here at CSU? And then maybe why have you stayed? Because you all are in your last year. You've been here for 5 years, which is incredible. So yeah, maybe let's start with Katie and then we'll hand it over to Camille.
Yeah. Bit of a loaded question, but one of my favorite questions to answer. Let's start with why I chose CSU. So I'm originally from Aurora, Colorado, which is just south of Denver, so not too far from Fort Collins. And I absolutely love Colorado. There's so much to do here. The mountains are like everything to me. I love to snowboard. That's what I do on most weekends, especially in the fall semester. So definitely was attracted to staying in state. And once I found out about the dual degree program here, that really attracted me to CSU. So specifically for chemical and biological engineering, I always knew that I wanted to work in medicine. I was really geared towards the pharmaceutical kind of industry as soon as I was in my senior year of high school. And so I kind of wanted to figure out a route I could take that wasn't necessarily going to medical school, but I could still be working on helping people and, you know, impacting people's lives every day. And so that was exactly what this degree offered me. I love that with chemical and biological engineering, you can go into so many different fields. I have friends who graduated and went to oil and gas. I have friends that went into pharmaceuticals. Some of them went into food production. So it's very broad what you can go into, and it definitely leaves a lot of room for you to find what you're super interested in pursuing. And so when I toured CSU, immediately stepping on campus, it just felt homey. It's so beautiful. There's so much green space, so many trees, and I loved that. I loved that it was so welcoming. As soon as I was on that tour, my tour guide really made me feel like I could belong here and like I would succeed here. And that's exactly what made me stay, especially within the College of Engineering. I feel like we have such a tight group, like a tight support system. I definitely am still friends with the same people I met in my first year. I still study with them. I actually live with a lot of them now. And it's really because of them that I'm still here today. Like, they're definitely my support system that I could lean on. They can lean on me. And then I also just love how close I've gotten to the faculty as well. I can say that I'm close to almost every professor that I've had, and I've definitely felt like they were here to like give me that extra push I needed to succeed in their classes. It never felt like, you know, they didn't want me to succeed or anything, and that was definitely the environment I needed to get through engineering because it is very rigorous. So yeah, that's definitely why I stayed.
Yeah, very similar to Katie. Yeah, this is a loaded question. I didn't realize how much there were, how many components there were. But I actually am from Southern California, and I knew that I didn't want to stay in California. And I looked across the whole country for biomedical engineering programs, with the addition of me wanting to do pharmaceuticals and, you know, some type of medicine. And everything that I saw with biomedical engineering was really geared towards mechanical engineering students, and I really wanted more of that chemical engineering side. I always did better in chemistry than I did in physics, and so here we are with chemical and biological and biomedical engineering. And yeah, like Katie was saying, I don't regret ever doing this dual degree. It is a 5-year dual degree, but CSU has really thought about everything in terms of how broad biomedical engineering is, and how partnering it with a dual degree, you're able to get that depth of knowledge in one section of biomedical engineering. And same thing, I really love how broad chemical engineering is, that I can go into so many different things. And so at first I wanted to come in as, do pharmaceuticals, and now I kind of want to do more like polymer science, biomaterials, kind of understanding what biomaterials are best for a certain type of medical devices, and CSU has fostered that. And that's kind of the same reason I stayed. I stayed because, yeah, I love the community that CSU offers. I love the faculty members. I remember my first year when I met Claire, after our first advising meeting, I literally went into her office, and every single day I was like, can I just get a hug? I miss my hugs. And so I went, yeah, exactly. See, so I went over and like passed by her office, even though I was supposed to be in another building. I specifically went to the engineering building just to pass by in her office. And so, yeah, you get that sense of community, and you don't feel like you're competing with your peers. They actually really want to help you, and they want to help you succeed. And me and my friends, my group of friends, we like send each other links to internships and jobs and wherever, just because we want to see each other succeed, not kind of just keep it to us. So yeah, CSU is a great place.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing. And then I did want to we were just kind of chatting here in the text box about AP. So Claire, do you want to talk a little bit about AP credits, or if you're taking dual enrollment or IB work, how that transfers over to CSU?
Sure. I'm going to find a couple of links while I talk as well, if I can multitask here. So the question in the chat was, if I have credit for biology, would I recommend retaking it? And my answer to that is definitely no. And the reason why I would say definitely don't retake biology is because it's almost identical to the AP or honors biology that you took in high school. And I see Camille and Katie nodding along with me here. So you're going to be bored. And if you're bored in a class, you're not going to do very well in the class. So you've got that material, you have what you need to be successful in CBE 205, definitely no need to retake it. For AP chemistry, to have credit for the chemistry that's required for CBE, you need to score a 5 on the AP test. If you score a 5, definitely no need to retake your chemistry at CSU. And I see the girls are still nodding along with me, they agree. Definitely no need to retake that either. You have what you need in order to progress in the degree and be successful. AP calculus. AP calculus can be a bit different with that. If you have AP credit for calc and you scored a 3 on the exam, that gives you credit for Math 160. And there are some reasons where you might want to retake that class. You might want to retake the class if you feel like you didn't really have a handle on the material when you were in high school. Some students talk about their high school calculus teacher not being that great. And so even though they passed the calc exam, they still don't feel like they understood what their teacher was working on with them. Or if you're just uncomfortable going straight into Calculus 2, I would definitely recommend retaking Calc 1. But if you did great on Calc 1, you feel like you have it, you feel like you know that material, and you scored a 4 or a 5, definitely go on into Calc 2. If you transfer in credit for Calc BC, then if you score a 4 or a 5 on the AP Calc exam, you will get credit for Calculus 1 and 2. Absolutely take that credit, get started on Calc 3. Unless, like I said for Calc 1, you don't think you quite got it, you didn't understand it, you didn't have a great teacher. There are reasons. And the first year of classes, we individualize to every student coming in. Everybody comes in at a slightly different level. Some people have some AP, some people have baccalaureate, some people come in with no credit at all. And we really make your schedule to fit you and what you have.
I have a quick thing to add. So with Calc 2, especially, a lot of the concepts in Calculus 2 are carried forward to your next classes, like Taylor series and all of that are going to come back to get you later on. So they're definitely going to want to be concepts that you feel very grounded in. I have a friend who passed the BC exam with a 4, went to Calculus 3, and then when we got back to the Calc 2 material, wished that they maybe had a refresher and retook it again. But on the other hand, I had someone who did just retake Calculus 2 once more and felt a little more prepared. So just reiterating what Claire said, if you feel really grounded in it and you feel very confident about those skills, definitely go straight into Calc 3. That's a great way to accelerate yourself through the program a little bit. But they are going to be concepts that you'll see come up in almost every class following. So just keep that in mind as well when you decide which way you might be thinking.
Yeah, and I also have something to add to that. So I came into college with a 5 on my Calc, is it AB? Is that the Calc 1? So I came in with a 5 and I decided to retake it, and I'm really glad I retook it because the calculus that we have here is specifically for like calculus for engineers, or like physical scientists, I think is what we call it. And so a lot of the concepts that you learn are geared towards what you're going to learn in classes. So for me, I felt like I had a good understanding of calculus, and then I took calculus for physical scientists, and I was like, oh, those are not the topics that I was very strong on. So I would say, yeah, if you feel like you have a good grasp on calc, definitely try to see if you, like, I believe that a lot of classes, what they'll do is they'll give you like a list of things that you should know before you come, because you have a period of withdrawal before like you need to actually be in that class, if that makes sense. So really look over those lists and really see if those are topics that you know.
I think that's awesome advice, because it's your personal decision, what you feel most comfortable with, and you want to make sure you have a strong foundation in place, because like all classes, really, especially with engineering, they're very sequential in nature. So that foundational knowledge that you're laying is really the bedrock to build the rest of your degree on. So definitely important classes. And we had a great question about Calc 2 from CU. So if you're doing like CU Succeed, you can definitely transfer over credit from that program. You do have to really send in an official transcript. That's part of the process. So make sure that you do get that to the registrar via the Office of Admissions. So I dropped in the email address that you can send transcripts to, as well as the physical address as well if you need to mail them. Yeah, great questions, y'all. And any other dual enrollment, it's the same thing. So if you're taking classes, maybe you're at Colorado Early Colleges and you're taking classes at Front Range, just make sure that you also send your Front Range transcript over to us so that we can make sure to do the transfer credit evaluation, and this will be added to your student account. And a lot of that usually happens in the May period. So as you're getting ready to sign up, for things like orientation and get situated with your fall schedule, just make sure that you send in those transcripts. Perfect. Yep. And there's some really helpful links here in the chat to our registrar's office. If you click on any of those, that will help you determine how coursework will come over. So a lot of really great resources, and we're all here to be a resource as well. And we'll make sure that we drop our email in the chat so that you can contact us directly with any specific questions, because everybody has a different combination of transfer credits, right? Whether you have AP and dual enrollment, or dual enrollment or CU Succeed, whatever that looks like, we want to help you determine how those credits will come in and work into your degree. Great. So I want to talk a little bit about hands-on experience, because this is a huge part of the learning at CSU, especially for engineers. It's really important that you do have that practical real-world experience to apply what you're learning in lecture and really work through those problems in real time. So I want to hear from both Camille and Katie about maybe some of their favorite labs that they've taken or hands-on experiences that they've had in their career so far at CSU. And let's start with Camille, and then we'll hop over to Katie.
Cool. So one of my favorite labs, specifically with chemical and biological engineering, is the senior year lab. So it's the fourth year-long lab, in which it really is a combination of everything that you've learned. So first semester, you're going to be doing a lot more of that chemical engineering side. So you'll learn about different valves that you use in moving water through pipes, or like different weir plates that you're going to use in order to measure different types of waters through, like I said, the weir plates. So that's really interesting to be able to see everything that you've applied, especially with chemical and biological engineering. It's very, your first like 2 to 3 years are going to be very theoretical. So you are going to be in a class majority of those 2 to 3 years, outside of taking like a physics lab and a chemistry lab. And it's really cool to see it all come together. And then your second semester of your fourth year, you're going to kind of do that biological side. And so one of my favorite labs was using the bioreactors to be able to see E. coli, and if you like removed nitrogen from it, or if you introduce oxygen, what would happen to the E. coli. And we accidentally killed our E. coli. So that was not good, because we were an 8 a.m. lab and we kind of killed it for the rest of the lab. Sorry, Katie. And so it's just really fun to be able to kind of see, to make those mistakes and be like, ooh, we may have introduced too much oxygen and we killed our E. coli. So that's my favorite lab with chemical and biological.
Well, that's also my favorite lab, but I did enjoy another one as well. So the fourth year one is just super fun because it's taking everything that you've learned in the past 3 years of your degree and just finally meshing it all together, so you can see like, oh, here's the first part, which I maybe learned my first and second year. Now I'm going to apply what I learned in reactor design my third year. Now I'm going to put it all together and see what I can get as a result. So I think it's really cool, like watching the progression of it, like through your degree, and then applying that with experiments like Camille was just talking about with the bioreactors. But another lab that I actually really enjoyed was organic chemistry lab. Normally, organic chemistry is a very hard class. It's a lot of work, and if you put in the work, you'll definitely see that reflected in your grades and your assignments and things like that. But it's really fun. It's exactly what it sounds like. You get to mix a bunch of chemicals. You get to see a bunch of reactions happen right in front of your face, which is just super awesome. That's kind of why I wanted to go into like a chemical type of degree. So it's very hands-on. It's like, it was my first experience pretty much in that like lab setting. You're working under a fume hood. You're working with a lot of hazardous materials and stuff that you don't get to like mess around with on your own. So it's cool to be able to do that stuff by yourself, get that experience. And then obviously that's just good experience to have as you move through your degree and back into your career path.
Great. Thank you both so much for sharing. I do want to talk a little bit, since this is a very unique degree. So chemical and biological engineering at CSU is a unique program. We were actually the first institution that's ABET accredited to offer this sort of degree. So it's a 4-year program that really covers everything chemical and biological engineering. So it's really amazing because of the opportunity and experience that you have to learn, but then also the number of different industries that you can enter into after graduation. So definitely, I think that's something important to point out as well. And then all of you who are in the college search process right now, really making sure that you do look into institutions that are ABET accredited. This is the accreditation board that goes through all the curriculum at institutions across the nation that offer engineering curriculum. And they make sure that core competencies are met so that when students graduate, they're really prepared and equipped to enter the field as an engineer in a really safe way with a really strong foundation of knowledge and skills. And because as an engineer, there are truly times where you may have people's lives in your hands. So that's, that's important business. If you're developing new pharmaceuticals, or if you're building a bridge, if you're, say, a civil engineer, right? Like these are huge responsibilities that you do shoulder as an engineer. So something fun just to talk about, and I think that flexibility within the degree is really incredible. I know, Claire, we've got really cool co-op program in the Department of Chemical and Biological Engineering. Do you want to talk a little bit about co-ops and internships for students, especially in CBE?
Sure. There are some co-ops available, definitely, for chemical and biological engineers. One of the most popular ones is a co-op program that we have with New Belgium Brewing, where students actually step out for a whole academic year and work at New Belgium Brewing for that academic year and then come back into the program. And working at New Belgium has been a great experience for our students who've been able to do that. It's been an incredibly competitive program as well. Everybody wants to go and work for New Belgium. I've also had a student do a rotational program through Dow Chemical in Illinois. And then internships, summer internships are also popular with chemical and biological engineers. And students get experiences in all different kinds of industries because this degree does give you such a broad education. You can go into many, many different fields. So it's nice to try and find an internship that really fits what you might want to do after you graduate.
Katie, do you want to talk to your internship experience a little bit and what that's been like for you as a student?
Yeah, so I got an internship 2 summers ago, so the summer between my junior and senior year. And I actually got it through our career fair. So it's really nice is that specifically through the College of Engineering, we put on 2 career fairs, one in the fall semester, one in the spring, and it's all just for STEM majors. So it's really nice. We definitely bring in a lot of companies for everything or every single engineering discipline. So definitely recommend going to that wherever you choose to pursue college. Take advantage of those career resources because they're super helpful. But I got an internship with a company that's actually in Fort Collins called American Healthcare Solutions. And so what I was doing was researching genetic mutations that are linked to autoimmune diseases, which was really interesting. It was definitely a different side of things that I didn't know much about. Besides taking like the genetics part of biology, I've never really dived deep into that. So I gained a lot of different skills in that area, which I think will be very useful, especially if I want to go into pharmaceuticals and that kind of medicine route. But it was an awesome experience. I think like sometimes there's like a stigma that as an intern, you just get all the grunt work. And at least for me, it wasn't like that. I was doing stuff that was actually really contributing to the project that my boss was working on at the time. And I'm like seeing that work show through now. I'm actually still working for them very part-time now that I'm back in school and working as an engineering ambassador. But what's also nice about those summer internships is sometimes you might be able to work those part-time hours. If they're a close local company, you might be able to work with them as you go through your classes and things like that.
Awesome, thanks, Katie. I do want to touch on senior design since we do have 2 seniors with us. Senior design is a huge component of the curriculum here in the College of Engineering. So all engineering students are required to complete a senior design project. And typically it's a year-long project that you work on with a team of students. And usually you're solving problems, right? And these are usually pretty big problems that are either brought to us by industry or they're really research driven. So Camille, do you want to talk to us about your really cool senior design project and what that looks like so far?
Yeah, so I am on the junctional tourniquet team for the Biomedical Engineering Senior Design Project. So what's really cool about doing the dual degree is for the first semester of Chemical and Biological Engineering Senior Design, you're going to be in that class, and you're going to learn about Aspen and Gantt, I believe is what it's called. And these are just 2 softwares that you're able to use to further build processes or further build on like a project plan to then be able to learn in senior design. So that's kind of the unique thing with chemical and biological engineering. But as a biomedical engineering student, my project is going to be solely with biomedical engineering. And like I said, I am on the junctional tourniquet team. And please stop me if I get too much into it because I get too excited about the senior design project. But essentially what a junctional tourniquet is, a tourniquet or a belt-like band that you put around an extremity whenever there's a wound. So usually that's used if there's a gunshot or if there's a stab wound. You want to stop the bleeding so like if I get a stab right here, you want to stop the bleeding going out of the wound to ensure that that patient doesn't bleed out. And so what doctors do is they put a junctional tourniquet around above, I believe it's like 3 fingers or 3 inches above that wound to be able to stop the bleeding. Unfortunately, what a lot of doctors are seeing is that when patients come into the hospital, as tight as that tourniquet seems like and as much of pain that patient is in, it doesn't stop the bleeding. And so they're still bleeding out of that wound. And so what we're trying to do is be able to put a pressure sensor onto that tourniquet to be able to say, okay, you have reached maximum amount of pressure in which that bleeding has stopped. In addition to that, we're also trying to put a timer, because another issue is that you can't have a tourniquet for longer than 6 hours. And while that doesn't seem like much time for civilian casualties, usually junctional tourniquets are used in with combat soldiers. And so for them, it takes a lot longer for these tourniquets to be on, or for a lot longer for them to try to get to a hospital or to get to a medic or whatever it is. And so we want to ensure that there are certain components to this junctional tourniquet that allows for less nerve damage, but also stops the wound or stops the bleeding. And so something that we're trying to mess with is a coolant factor to be able to say, okay, like if you put ice around a wound or ice on a wound, it'll stop the bleeding. However, there is if you get too low on temperature, your nerves will stop functioning essentially. And so we obviously do not want your nerves to stop functioning, but we obviously want the bleeding to stop. And so that's kind of the junction point, if you excuse the pun, of where we're at right now, is trying to figure out that right temperature and what type of factors to be able to put. So what's really exciting about working on this project is that we work with industry partners. So I'm working with Veritech Engineering, which is a consulting engineering, clinical consulting engineering company, as well as one of the doctors and one of the clinicians from UC Health. And so you're getting kind of that engineering side and that medical side, which kind of brings together exactly what engineering is it's a very big collaboration between engineers and between, science majors and between, really everyone. And so that's what senior design really brings together, is you bring the business side of everything, you bring the science side, you bring the engineering side. And yeah, honestly, you get to see how everything comes together with just a simple junctional tourniquet and simple improvements. So I'm going to pause there because I will keep going.
That's super cool, Camille. I think that's a really good just kind of overview of senior design and the way that you get to work with multiple stakeholders as well. And a lot of times these ideas and these projects turn into career opportunities. So that's another straight connection to industry as well. And Katie, I know you're working with some chemical and biological engineers on your senior design project. Do you want to talk about that just a little bit too?
Yeah. So along with Camille, my project is through the Biomedical Engineering School. But what's really cool is that I don't just have a team of biomedical engineers. I'm also working with 2 students who are just 4th year chemical and biological engineering seniors. So this is a project that if you choose to go into chemical and biological engineering, you could do something very similar to it without doing that dual degree. And so what my project is we're actually creating a paper-based diagnostic tool that can detect RNA viruses. So RNA viruses are like our current pandemic, COVID-19, Zika virus, Ebola. So it's very relevant, but really essentially it's going to create more accessibility for low resource areas to have a way to rapidly test for these viruses. And what's important about that is essentially that's going to control the spread of the virus. So if you're getting a rapid result in, let's say, less than an hour, then that's really going to help them enforce what that person needs to do. Are they going to send them right into quarantine? They don't have to wait 2 to 3 days for those results and possibly be passing the virus as they see people, things like that. So what's really cool is that it's also going to be paper-based. So this makes it not only very cheap to manufacture, but it's going to be about less than $5 per test. So essentially like nothing compared to how much current diagnostic tests are. And so it's going to be like, you could think a pregnancy test or a glucose monitor, where you just put a saliva sample right on, and it's going to give you a color output for if it's a positive or a negative result. So that's a really cool project. You get to work with DNA, you get to work with RNA. You're going to learn about different immunoassays that you can do in a laboratory setting. So it's definitely a great project if you're looking to go into research and things like that. And it's really cool because I get to work with, biomedical engineering students that I'm in class with, but I also get to work with some chemical and biological engineering students that are in the year below me. So
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Katie. That's so cool and really accessible. So these are real projects that are going to change the world. And that's a really common theme that you'll find at CSU, especially in the College of Engineering, is students who really want to make a difference in this world. And that's really powerful because as an engineer, you truly have the capacity to create this change, like rapid testing, like building a tourniquet that's going to be used for folks who are deployed and in combat, right? That's absolutely massive work that you all are doing, and it's really incredible that you get to undertake that experience during your degree and then carry that forward into the future. And so that's something to be really proud of, and something again that you'll find at CSU is a real commonality, and I think that's what helps to bind our community together. So I definitely would say community is a huge aspect at CSU, not just academic community, but then also your social community. So Camille, do you want to talk about some of the ways that you have found community at CSU and what that looks like for you?
Yeah, so a big way that I found community here at CSU is through student organizations. So one student organization, or I guess two student organizations within the College of Engineering, and then one that's not so college engineering related. But kind of going through my engineering college one, I am part of BMES, which is the Biomedical Engineering Society. And I am actually now the president of ISPE, which is the International Society of Pharmaceutical Engineering. And so both of these ways have helped me really, one, meet people who are interested in the same thing I am, or within biomedical engineering, meet people who have taken the classes I have, or have a different perspective into different projects that I'm working on, or really just someone to be a nerd with and kind of just talk about random things. And me and Katie do it all the time, where we kind of just talk about biomedical engineering stuff, which is kind of fun. And so it's a great way for you to find, like I said, people who are interested in the same thing, and you guys can kind of go hang out or build that community that you see here at CSU. In addition to that, there are also great networking opportunities. And so usually at student organizations, so kind of preface, there is an American Institute for Engineering majors, right? So for chemical engineering, there's the American Institute of Chemical Engineers, AICHE. I think I said that correctly. And so this is a great way for you to network with people in the industry of chemical and biological engineers, or kind of, for me, actually understand what different types of industries you can go into with chemical and biological engineers. Like I said, I came in wanting to do pharmaceuticals. I'm kind of now leaving almost with the idea of kind of wanting to do consulting, because I've had multiple people come and tell me how consulting has helped them kind of understand more of those medical devices. And I realized that I didn't necessarily want to do a lot of that technical building, but I wanted to, one, talk to people and kind of see what they are interested in and why they want a specific medical device. And so I really recommend joining a lot of these student organizations for you to be able to not only meet people, but also have people tell you a lot about what's going on in industry. In ISPE specifically, there are educational events every semester in which it's not a networking event. They specifically are this is not networking. It's really just for them to tell you what's going on in industry and for you to become a more informed engineer. And that's what's really helpful is as you're going on in this program, yes, there are certain classes that you need to take, but also what's going on in the world is going to affect how you approach these classes and how you want to go about these classes, and eventually what kind of technical electives you're going to take. Kind of straying away from the question here. Technical electives are classes that you will take your 4th or your 5th year to really help you narrow down what you want to do with chemical engineering or any type of engineering. And this just isn't within the engineering department or chemical engineering. You can go across different engineering disciplines, or you can go across different departments. So I am interested in heart valve research. And so I took a cardiopulmonary class with biomedical sciences. And so these are all great ways for you to, going back, build this community, but also understand what you want to do with your major.
Awesome. Thank you, Camille, for sharing. And if we have any other questions from folks tuning in, feel free to shoot those in the chat or unmute yourself, whatever you're most comfortable with. Let's see, I was wondering a little bit, one thing that's also kind of important and not so academically driven, but thinking about where to live. And I wanted to just share a little bit about our engineering residential learning community whilst we're here together. And we will have a session on Saturday that's devoted to talking solely about the engineering residential learning community. But this is a really great way to connect with other engineers in their first year at CSU and really knowing, and it's worth saying this, is engineering is hard. And it has to be. And the other thing to know is you are going to have a network of support at CSU. And whether that's going to be Claire or fellow students, your faculty members, all of these people are here to support you throughout the duration of your degree and beyond, because we want to see you succeed. And the Engineering Success Center is a big piece of that as well. And that's where our office is usually located. And we host things like the career fair and resume review and connect students to those kind of internship and co-op opportunities. And then a part of our responsibility as well is to run and manage the engineering residential learning community, which is a place to live and learn on campus. So it's based over in Academic Village. So there's a cluster of 3 buildings. So you have the engineering building, that's all engineering first year students. You also have the honors residence hall. So if you participate in the university honors program, you can live there. And then you also have Aspen, which is overflow for both honors and for engineering and for returning engineering students. And then you have a dining center as well called Ramshorn, which is super delicious. They have a really good Mongolian grill there. But this is a great place to live and learn. And I know Katie lived there in her first year. So do you want to share a little bit about what that community looks like and what resources and opportunities students can access?
Yeah. So I actually loved living in Academic Village. When I went to fill out my housing application, I actually wasn't going to fill out Academic Village, but it was my mom who really urged me to do it. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll put it as my third option. Ended up with Academic Village Engineering, and I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And I absolutely loved it. It was like the biggest blessing in disguise. The same roommates that I mentioned are upstairs. 4 of them were in my hall from my first year in Academic Village. One of them was my actual roommate. And so I definitely formed that community right away. It was awesome, just especially knowing that I could walk down the hall, knock on someone's door if I had a question on homework. That was like exactly what I needed. Jackie already said it, but engineering is hard. And that first year, you're not only dealing with like the transition between high school and college, but you're also just, classes pick up. It's a lot faster than high school. And so you're definitely going to want to be in a place where, you know, you're making connections with other students and you're getting the support and the help that you need. And so I definitely found that with having a bunch of engineers on my hall, people that had the same kind of work ethic and focus that I have, it definitely helps drive up that, I guess, that energy, which is nice. But on top of that, on the bottom or the first floor of the engineering hall or residence hall is our design labs. And so all across the engineering buildings around campus, and then in Academic Village Engineering, we have design labs, and these are workspaces. There's a bunch of computers for you to log on to your engineering domain. You'll have all of the engineering programs and coding systems that you'll need. So great spots to just do homework and study with other people. And that's right in the basement. What's also nice is that, as Claire mentioned way at the beginning of this, you take an introduction to a coding class. And that class for chemical and biological engineers is actually taught in one of the labs in that residence hall. And so it was really convenient to just come downstairs, roll out of bed, throw on some clothes, come downstairs and take class, and then go right back up to my room. So there's definitely benefits of living in, and especially what I found the most useful was having access to building those study groups right off the bat as I started engineering.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. And we also offer tutoring Sunday to Thursday as well. And so that's engineering specific tutoring. And you don't have to live in Academic Village to access all of these resources. So as an engineer, you can go to that tutoring. There's also advising drop-in hours. And you can access all of those design studios with your key card for as an engineer in the college. But yeah, just as we're wrapping up here, we're getting close on time. I want to hear from everybody. So I want to hear from Claire, then Camille, and then Katie to wrap us up. And if you could offer a piece of advice to prospective students right now, what would that piece of advice be?
Is it me first?
Okay, let's go Camille, Claire, and then Katie.
Okay, cool. Yeah, one of my biggest pieces of advice, especially for a college, for a student looking for a college, is don't be afraid to ask questions. And this is something that's going to translate as you continue on into your college career. Do not be afraid to put yourself out there. And yeah, wear your passions on your sleeve. Don't be afraid to ask people what they do with their life, what their passions are, and have those conversations, because that's what really will motivate you to do your engineering career. If you go through the classes, a lot of it's going to be broad, and there are some classes that you may not necessarily be interested in, but talking to people who are interested in those specific classes may get you interested in classes. And specifically just for right now, don't be afraid to ask questions, especially because you can't come visit us on campus and kind of see everything student life oriented. So if you see a post, if you see a story on an Instagram page, go into their direct messages and really say, hey, can you tell me more about this one thing, or can you tell me more about what the student does, or whatever it is, and really interact, because this is kind of the best way for you to know about student life when you can't really go see us on student life.
I think my piece of advice for students who are trying to decide which university is going to be the right fit for them, as Jackie mentioned, you're looking at engineering, you're making sure that you're looking at engineering programs that are ABET accredited. And I think that making sure that you choose the campus that is going to be the right fit for you. No matter which university you choose, you're going to get the engineering education, because your education is what you put into it. It's your responsibility, it's what you put into it. But where you live, that's the decision that you have to make, and you need to choose the campus that feels like home to you. And for me, CSU feels like home.
Yeah, I'm gonna top off everything that Claire and Camille are saying. I would say my biggest piece of advice, especially with everything that's going on with the pandemic, is just get involved as much as you can. I think it's awesome that you took this step to come to Engineering Exploration Week and hang out with us here for this hour. But do exactly that with any university you're looking at. College is a very big decision. It's where you're going to spend the next X amount of years of your life. And so definitely take advantage of everything that these colleges are putting together for you to get connected. I would say talk to current students. It's one thing to hear stuff from, faculty or advisors. Claire's great, but it's another thing to hear about the student experience. It's another thing to hear, how are you getting through classes? Is it as hard as everyone says it is? Do you have a social life? What does that look like? So I would say ask those questions, especially if you can't go visit things in person. Ask what do you love about Fort Collins? What do you love about wherever the city is that the college is at? Because it's not just going to be on campus. You're going to want to love what's around you and what it has to offer as well. So just ask questions, keep getting involved like this. And if you guys have any more questions for us, Jackie dropped a ton of resources in the chat. So definitely reach out. We're here to, assist you in your college search and make sure you find where your home's going to be for the next many years.
Oh, that's great advice, everyone. Thank you so much. So thank you to our panelists so much for being here today. I appreciate you all. And as Katie mentioned, there's a few resources in the chat here. So we offer a lot of opportunities to engage with our ambassador team. So talking to current students, like Katie's saying, I think that is the best way to figure out what program or what institution might be a good one for you. And so we do one-on-one visits. So you can come book a tour with us. So it's a virtual tour, but we'll show you around all of our facilities, and that'll be one-on-one with an ambassador. Also, ambassadors have one-on-one video chats. We have live virtual tours on Saturdays, and we have webinars every Monday and Fridays. So feel free just to connect with us any way possible. My email's in here as well. So if you want to set up a conversation, also we text everyone. So if you want to shoot us your phone number at the Explore email account, we'll send you a text follow-up as well. But just know that you've got people in this with you. You're not in it alone. We're in it together. And so please use us as resources. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday and enjoy the rest of Engineering Exploration Week. Also, I'd encourage you to download our Goose Chase app and play our game. We are doing a scavenger hunt this whole week. That will close on Saturday night, and we will be sending the top 3 winners prizes in the mail. So do play along and let us know if you have any questions. But that's all for now. Thanks so much for tuning in, and go Rams!